And I'll say good morning or good afternoon to everybody on today's call, depending on where you are. My name is Jim McDonald with Torrey Hills Capital. Pleased to be hosting today's call featuring Century Lithium, an advanced stage lithium exploration company developing its 100% owned Angel Island mine in Nevada. Company trades in the US on the OTCQX under the ticker symbol CYDVF. Also up in Canada on the TSX Venture Exchange under the ticker symbol LCE. Joining me today from the company, I've got Bill Willoughby, the company's president and CEO, and Spiros Kakos, VP of Investor Relations. Before turning the call over to Bill and Spiros, I just want to take a moment to go through logistics. For people who have been on calls with me in the past, nothing new here. Really more of a reminder that our calls are intended to replicate our in-person meetings, which we like and encourage to be as interactive as possible. With that in mind, if you have questions along the way, please feel free to ask them. The best way to do so is use the navigation pane, click on the Q&A button, type in your question. We'll get those presented and answered for you. If for some reason we don't get to your question immediately, it's not that we're ignoring it or don't see it. It's simply that we think it will be answered in the next handful of slides, and we'll let the normal course of the presentation answer those questions for us. Alternatively, excuse me, if you want to speak with management at any point during the call, we welcome and encourage that as well. The only way to do that is, again, use the navigation pane at the bottom of the screen. Click on the raise hand button. One of us will see that, unmute your microphone, and allow for direct conversation back and forth. We have a fair number of people on today's call, so I think there may be a bunch of questions, which is, as I said, good and encouraged. Um, but it may be more of a case that we end up doing the questions towards the end of the presentation rather than interrupting as we go. I see that we may have lost Bill's presentation here. So we'll wait a second and see if he is able to re-log in.
I can pull up mine.
Yeah,
I can,
somehow he got kicked out, Spiros. So as soon as he logs back in, I will bring him over to panelist side.
as we're waiting for Bill. No, we're just talking a little bit earlier about LAC's news. I think it's a nice tip in the hat for sedimentary projects, right, in Nevada. It's just, there's a lot of people that were naysayers that lithium in sedimentary deposits or in clay deposits will never work. It's all about brine. It's all about hard rock. But LAC is doing it. They're obviously more advanced than we are, and they're doing a great job. And the federal government's backing them up. And there's two other projects that are in Nevada that are just as advanced. It's Austin Ioneer. So things could be bright in the near future.
Well,
Anybody else?
that's what we're hoping for, and I see that Bill is joining us now as on the panelist side of things. Welcome back, Bill.
Oh, you're on mute. No.
You're on mute
There,
and video's hidden.
yeah, people always try to put me on mute. I keep talking. It's too bad. So,
Ah,
yeah, always nice to have some technical difficulties to start the day out.
of
So,
course.
yeah,
We'll let you put your screen back up. I'll finish.
yeah,
Um, I guess what I was going to say. So, yeah, again, we've got a fair number of folks on here and expect to have lots of questions, which, again, we want and encourage. I will, as always, remain on throughout, but will take myself off both audio and video so as not to be a distraction, but we'll certainly help manage questions as they come in. And with that said, let me turn the controls over to Bill.
yeah. Let's see if we got the share screen working properly. Does that look good, Jim?
Yes.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, just make it bigger, Bill. Just hit the button,
That for starters.
the full screen. Put the full screen on it. There you go.
Are we there?
You're off
Perfect.
and running.
Okay. Yeah, thank everyone for patience on that. Sometimes the internet and hardware just.
Bill, we may have lost your audio. Bill, we lost your audio.
It's located near the town of Goldfield, just east of the little town of Silver Peak, and about halfway between Reno and Las Vegas. That was a scene of our project area. In fact, looking down the area of where we plan to put an open pit. And Century Lithium, for those that are unfamiliar with us, is an advanced stage lithium company. Our project, which was entirely our focus, is Angel Island. It's a lithium clay deposit. And as a lithium clay deposit, it's one of a number of large lithium deposits which Nevada is endowed with. The most prominent one that is always in the news today is Thacker Pass, owned by Lithium Americas Corp. That one is under development and construction. They've completed all of their permitting process under the ticker symbol LAC. Another one, which is closer to us and located over that mountain range, which is in the foreground of that slide, is Ioneer's Rhyolite Ridge project. That one has also been permitted, and it is in the process of funding and pre-construction. Our project, we've completed a feasibility study last year. We're working towards an update on it. And as one thing to mention about lithium clay deposits up front, that's important, is that unlike hard rock lithium deposits, we offer an end-to-end process. In the same respect that you can take lithium in a brine and treat that brine and try to remove all the impurities and get to a final lithium product, lithium carbonate, to put in batteries. Our process, we take clay, we leach it, we make a leach solution, and from there we progress to actually making a battery grade lithium carbonate. And I can show you that process. The inset, we start with a lithium clay, which we pulverize and then put into leach tanks. We then treat with hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide, products of a chloralkali process. We get a leach liquor. We then subject that leach liquor to direct lithium extraction, a process which resembles ion exchange, and we wind up with a clear solution, which then we can upgrade, concentrate the lithium from, and then we're doing props today. We wind up with lithium carbonate. And so far out of our demonstration plant in Amargosa Valley, we've produced about a half ton of lithium carbonate, which we've then used for sample material to different people. And significant this year is we've actually put that material into another company, which is named First Phosphate. And First Phosphate has been successful in producing lithium iron phosphate batteries. Battery grade material goes into batteries. No better proof than actually doing it. And they've successfully done that with our material. We've also worked with another company called Alpha Yen out of New York on making anode material with our lithium carbonate. So it's an end-to-end process that's significant for us. We're targeting a production over the life of the mine of better than 30,000 tons a year. In our updated feasibility study, which we're working on, we'll be looking at 2 phases of production and focus on that, which is stage 1, stage 2, taking us to about 25 to 30,000 tons a year of lithium carbonate. Our cash flow model is based on $24,000 a ton lithium carbonate. We're looking at that as a price basis in our updated feasibility study. We probably revised that downwards a little bit. The price of lithium carbonate, as many know, is dropped precipitously over the last year. And now we're looking at a price that's more like around $11,000, $12,000 a ton currently. We expect, and we are fully optimistic that the price of lithium will increase as more and more batteries are adopted, both in EV market and stationary storage. So quite optimistic in the outlook there. We have not exactly settled on a price point for the updated feasibility study yet, but are working towards that quickly. The $28.33 a ton, that's our cash cost for lithium carbonate. That's all in over the life of the project and includes a sodium hydroxide credit, which is a significant part of the project. So what I would like to talk a lot about today is permitting. We reached a milestone today on permitting, which is the submission of all of our baseline work to the federal government for review. We completed the last of about 20 studies, and that has gone in. We'll get feedback as we go forward, and hopefully we can progress quickly through the timeline and get ourselves into the NEPA process, National Environmental Policy Act, get into that process and work towards the federal permitting, which is our key item on our critical path towards production. And I'll let Spiros pick up here and talk some about our share structure, a recent raise that we just completed, and our current share price.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Issued outstanding is about 165 million. We've got about 16.6 million warrants, 7.3 million options, so fully diluted roughly around 190. Market cap is bouncing between 45 and 50 million right now. And you're right, we completed a $4.7 million offering. It was a life offering that we did this summer. One of the few companies we were able to raise capital over the year. It's been tough for the lithium market, so it's been really, really tough. So we completed ours, and which was, I guess, must have been predominantly institutional, I would say, almost 50-50, just maybe a little bit more institutional than it was retail. So it was nice to see towards August, the price of lithium had jumped up from a low of 6,000 or 7,000, moved up to around 8,900, actually moved up to 11,000. And the institutional market just jumped in right away and helped us close that financing. So we got $8.8 million in cash right now. So it's enough money to kind of move forward, finance the updating the feasibility study, and move forward in permitting as well.
Right, and those are two focuses going forward: is updating the feasibility study, which will support the permitting and take us to that record of decision, main point on our critical path. Yeah.
Hey, if I can interrupt, if this is an okay time, transitioning between slides, I do have someone with their hand up who would like to interject with a question. Is that okay?
That's fine. That would be great.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You should be available to speak. Yep, you've unmuted yourself.
What are the warrant and option exercise prices, and how long will this funding take you to?
The warrants were priced at 45 cents. The shares were issued at 30 cents in the offering, in the life offering. And our current funding that Spiros described, that will easily take us past the updated feasibility and the plan of operations point, and probably well into whatever the next step is with the federal government in terms of the NEPA process. That process is something of an uncertainty, because if we have all of our ducks in a row and this Fast 41 program, which we are now part of, helps us along, it could be very quick and easy, and we'll easily have enough money to cover that with what's in the treasury. A worser case scenario, but still, we do have the money to cover this, is if we go through a full EIS and we wind up with some contested issues, which we don't have at the present time because we don't know anything that is in our project that would trigger something like that, lawsuits, etc. We have a very clean project. It looks very easy to permit. We have a neighboring project in Albemarle, which at Silver Peak, which is also doing an EIS at the moment. So there's a lot to carry us forward, and I think we can easily get to that record of decision with the cash we have on hand. So,
Thank you.
great.
Thanks, Sheldon. Any further question from you?
No, not now. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put you back on mute and lower your hand. But if I can continue here, Bill, I do have a couple of questions in the queue, if that's all right.
That's great.
So
Kind
you
of
had talked
freeform
about,
this.
I'm sorry?
Go for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
you had talked about the updated feasibility study. As part of that, can you elaborate or give any guidance regarding timing of the plan of operation expected to be out in the updated feasibility study? And then you mentioned something about the NEPA process, maybe just a little bit more timing regarding permitting and the next steps.
Well, that's great. It actually flows. Those questions are perfect for this slide because on this slide, we're talking about the Fast 41 program. It was started under the Infrastructure Program Act of, I think, 2016 under, I believe it was Biden administration or Trump, first Trump, and then Biden administration carried it forward. It got expanded to include a lot of mineral resource projects. We joined a list of, I think it was about 30 other projects on the list as far as being recognized by the federal government and put under the program either as a transparency act or a cover or a transparency project or a covered project. We are a transparency project under Fast 41, which means our information on permitting and everything is put up onto a website, which is called the Fast 41 dashboard. Being on that dashboard, we published a timeline for the project and all the steps of permitting. That timeline takes us out into, I believe it's 2027. It's a 2-year program. We are in it right now. First 6 months here is developing the plan of operations, getting that submittal in by sometime in March. I think it's around March 15th. And then if everything continues on that track, there's 18-month period after that to complete the program and get our record of decision. And doing that, that's our federal permit. The program could accelerate if, particularly if we elevate ourselves from a transparency project to a covered project. As a covered project under Fast 41, we would then have a team at the federal level assigned to us and help us through some of the interfaces between different agencies that are related to that program. So where does our feasibility study fit into all that? Well, our updated feasibility study has to take some of the design issues that we've addressed, file that into the plan of operations. So it's a supporting document, but we see right now that the feasibility study plus the plan of operations are going on simultaneously, and we targeting that March period as when we're going to complete and have both of those out. Either of those could happen sooner. So we're working hard at it.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Hopefully that helps answer that question. The next question I have here is, would the company need more water when it comes to mining, or is there enough already?
We easily have enough water under our permit for our phase 1 and phase 2 development. One reason why we're focusing on those two right now, taking us from 15,000 or 7,500 tons a day of mill feed to 15,000 tons a day on our second phase, is consideration of the water infrastructure and also just to present a project which we have a good handle on the development time frame and the costing around it. So if you go back to the feasibility study, you'll also see a third phase where we take the project up to 22,500 tons a day of mill feed. That brings us over 40,000 tons a year of lithium carbonate production. We're leaving that one on the shelf right now, focusing on the first two under the feasibility study. And that way we can address all of the infrastructure that developments that are around that. We do have enough water right now. We would always like to have more water. There's a number of ways that we've looked to obtain additional water for the project, but right now I think we're adequate for phase 1 and phase 2 easily.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll let you continue on with the normal presentation for now.
Yeah, it's an abnormal presentation at this point since we've kind of cowboyed it, but Yeah, so I think we've addressed this one on the government and accelerated mineral production. There is an opportunity with the Fast 41 program to speed things up and get better coordination. And we were very pleased when the US government selected us for the program. And there's another slide about that. And Emily Downich of the federal program was kind enough to give us a nice quote for that news release. So summarize the investment highlights and maybe talk about where we're at today and how we got here. We are an advanced stage project. We're aside from Thacker Pass and Rhyolite Ridge, I would consider us the third most advanced lithium clay project, certainly in the state of Nevada, and one of the key ones in the United States. We've come a long way from the very first drilling that was done in 2017, 2018, and brought it through a PEA, the PFS, an FS last year, and now working towards our permitting. And those are huge milestones for a project. Fact that we've carried it this way, we owe a lot to our team and supporting us in all of our management. So we've proven technology. We've had a pilot plant, which is now converted into a demonstration plant since all of our piloting is done. We've got a patent pending process, which is based on chloralkaline leaching. We leach with hydrochloric acid, neutralize with sodium hydroxide, and then we apply DLE, quote unquote, direct lithium extraction to that. It's a ion exchange resin-based technology, just almost like water filtration in your house. And we produce that purified liquid that you then can get to lithium carbonate. We have a patent pending around all of that process, even though there's certain elements of it which are proprietary to other companies. We've encompassed that, and mainly that applies to some of the things in the leaching area. We've hit all our key milestones. Some people might be disappointed by the time it takes, but it's a long process for many, many projects that reach our point in time. I can easily think of ones I've worked on in my lifetime that are still in the permitting and development phase. So I think we've accomplished a lot in the last 8 years. We've had higher share prices over time. Currently, we're looking at what I would like to think is our low point, and really a good opportunity for investment in that. A lot of factors around us pertaining to the lithium market, being in that development trough where you pass your feasibility study, everything's known, all of those combined. And if you look at us, compare us to, say, Lithium Americas before General Motors came in, we are at a great point for looking forward to an eventual increase in our share price, where, say, we have the opportunity right now of bringing in a partner, strategic partner, to help us along. We haven't really cemented any relationships in that respect, although we have a lot of great contacts on the go, and also looking very hard at getting some federal funding going. Federal government has a number of programs under the Department of Energy, the Defense Production Act, the DOE, and we're certainly looking at all those opportunities as we go forward for non-dilutive financing to carry us forward. And finally, our demo plant is still in operation down in Amargosa Valley, about 100 miles from the project. And our demo plant, we are trying out lots of different ideas and things. We've talked before about rare earths. We've had some ideas around that. We've done some testing. We've got some assays that are coming back that we're waiting on to see if we have anything important there or significant that we could talk about. We are also looking at ways that we can more cheaply manufacture lithium iron phosphate, and we've actually produced some lithium hydroxide at the demo plant, which we are in the process of testing to see what our quality was on that. So a lot of good ideas that are coming out of the way that we've approached the project, focused heavily on process and how we get to that next step. So I'll ramble a little bit about the project location. Angel Island is this ridge that is visible inside of the black outline. On the left, the dark area. It's older rock which sticks up out of the valley floor. All of the white area is clay or sediments that you see. There's a big white streak which runs right through the project area, and that's our lithium clay deposit. A significant item in this slide is that red line in the photo. That is Greenlink West, which is a power line under construction by NV Energy. It's a 500 kVA power line, and as you can see, it passes within about 1.5 miles of our project. We also have a geothermal lease we've acquired over time and done a little bit of work on it. It's not so much of the project right now, but it's an opportunity for us down the road in terms of geothermal power. One thing on the power side that's important is that we're in a great place for solar power in Nevada, and likely we will integrate solar power and battery storage as a element of the project, which will help us keep our power costs down. Power cost is the main driver of our economics on the operating cost side, and that's because it fits into the chloralkali plant, and it's very predictable. We know how much acid we need out of the chloralkali plant. We know how much the power consumption is. It takes about 2 megawatt hours to produce a ton of chlorine, which gives us the hydrochloric acid, which just feeds into our leaching. So we know that our process is power intensive, but we can predict, what that load is, and it's very consistent. Drives about 80% of our OPEX, and with that, we can fairly well predict our operating cost. So, talk about some more infrastructure related things. We're just off of Silver Peak Road, so we have good highway access to the project. Those are some of the clay beds that you can see on the left. And on the right, that is where our mill site and plant area will be located. So, mention again the differences between lithium in different sources. We're adjacent to Albemarle Silver Peak operation. Schlumberger is also next to us with a pilot plant that they developed, all focused on lithium brine, which is salt water that has lithium in solution. That's the oldest way of producing lithium. Second way is to do it through hard rock, where you actually make a concentrate by milling, and then you take that concentrate and convert it into a final product. Our opportunity here being Claystone is that we offer the end-to-end aspect. We don't need to produce a concentrate, which other companies would ship to China to process. Our material, we leach it and we make the lithium carbonate on site, and it's pure. We know that we can get to battery grade fairly easily with our process. And if you're talking about brines, there's impurities that still have to be dealt with, and you have to pretty well tailor a processing DLE approach to every individual brine that you come across. So something that's like a brine in Arkansas or a brine in Canada will have different characteristics, say, from the brine in Salton Sea. So that's why you might see that DLE, even though it's widely talked about, is not just a blanket solution to every little deposit that's out there or every brine. Our project elements that we consider: the mining. It's an easy deposit to mine. It's right at the surface. Unlike some other deposits in Nevada, we have no inner burden and we have no overburden. It's basically a 0.2 to 1 stripping ratio, very little waste. Most everything goes through the mill. No drilling, blastings required. It's easily to leach with relatively low reagent consumption in our clay, not very many carbonates at all. And what we found with our process, which differentiates us from, say, Ioneer and Lithium Americas and other entrants into the lithium clay in Nevada space, we are not using sulfuric acid, we use hydrochloric acid. And by doing that, we find that we're more compatible with our environment. We generate a tailings which is easy to filter, and we have a lot of aspects that are compatible with having a brine resource and salt deposits near us. We can take that salt, electrolyze it, and feed it to our chloralkali plant, which then provides us with our hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide, the two main reagents that we use in our process. And the sodium hydroxide is a key point to touch on. That in producing a ton of hydrochloric acid, we produce about 1.1 tons of sodium hydroxide. And the sodium hydroxide, in neutralizing that leach solution, we only use about 60% of that, which leaves us 40% of the sodium hydroxide that we could go market. And we found that there is a strong market for sodium hydroxide, caustic soda, or lye in our neck of the woods, and that it will definitely generate a good byproduct credit on our operating cost. So summarize those fundamentals. We've got a good end-to-end process. Through our feasibility study, we know we have strong economics. We're hoping to see something even stronger out of our updated FS. We have a phased production plan. We are looking now at just the first 2 phases in detail. And summarize, it's a really large resource. All of the clay deposits in Nevada can tout very, very large resources, but it's the process that makes it happen. And we think at Century Lithium, we've nailed the process down, and we have probably the best mousetrap for approaching it. So I won't belabor the resource and reserves other than to say, yes, we've got a lot of lithium carbonate equivalent in the ground, and that's a wonderful thing to have. But the real trick is how do you convert that into a reserve and what's mineable? And we have a feasibility study already in hand, which backs that up. So the deposit features extensive deposit, minimal overburden, soft and leachable. It's a uniform bed of clay that we're dealing with. There are some higher grade bands in it, which we might be able to focus on to try to increase our grade. But for what we're doing right now, we're taking a broad view to the deposit and looking at it as just a homogeneous mill feed and able to support a large production rate with very little required attention to ore feed and grade control. So that's another benefit when it comes down to operating costs. As I mentioned, the feasibility study was looking at a 3-phase program. We are going to concentrate on this first phase 1 and phase 2, which would then take us to the production rate of about 28,000 tons a year of lithium carbonate. The CapEx, as estimated in the feasibility, was over $2 billion to do those 2 steps. Through our work on the plant side, leaching, filtration, and a lot on the DLE, the direct lithium extraction, we saw areas that we could cut the costs on the CapEx side. We've looked at that internally and externally, and we see that phase 1 cost, we can get that down probably in the order of 20-25%, as indicated by an optimization study we did earlier this year. We'll see if that carries through to the updated feasibility document. But we're looking at a substantial increase in or decrease on the CapEx side and an improvement in these economic metrics that we have. A 17% rate of return. We would hope for the updated feasibility to kick that up quite a bit. So carry on from there. And more on the economics. And I won't spend much time on this at all because, yeah, we would be looking at the lower now lithium carbonate pricing going forward is probably the base case in our updated feasibility study. But at the same time, we see some gains in our OPEX and CAPEX that could come out. And the real driver for the updated feasibility study right now is to support our permitting and get that permitting document in to the federal government on the plan of operation. Yeah. And what we see on, it's not so much the CapEx side, but on the operating cost, guess we didn't have that. As with our operating cost, a key component is that byproduct credit for sodium hydroxide. Without the sodium hydroxide credit, we're probably in the range of $6,000 to $10,000 a ton lithium carbonate. And with that credit, we can easily drop below $3,000 a ton as our all-in OpEx. A couple images from our demo plant in Amargosa Valley, location. Early stage of the plant, we have rearranged it considerably, made it more streamlined. That's a leach tank showing our leach liquor before it goes through filtration and DLE. More on the process, patent pending process. We've submitted our patent application about a year ago. We're expecting to hear from that someday. And continue on. Our lithium carbonate. Again, we've made a good quantity of lithium carbonate, which has been sent out to various parties for testing. Biggest for us, the best demonstration of its battery quality was the work that First Phosphate did in putting it into lithium iron phosphate batteries, and the lithium metal anodes that were produced by N Alpha in New York. And we talked about the chloralkaline process. Advantages there for us are filtration. It's efficient on the water side. It's a process which all the components are there at the site, so we do not have to go, say, looking to the Gulf Coast or Canada for salt, or in the case of, excuse me, for the ones that are using sulfuric acid, going to outside the state to find sulfur to drive their process. And some factoids on sodium hydroxide. We will skip over that. We do have an MOU right now with Orica regarding sodium hydroxide as an offtake. Orica is a chemical supplier out of Winnemucca, which uses a good quantity of sodium hydroxide annually to make sodium cyanide, which feeds Nevada's growing gold industry. And I say growing because now gold is approaching $4,000 an ounce. So quite a bit of interest there on that side for reagents. And we come to the enviro side. Yes, we've completed all of our baseline studies. That work's been submitted to the federal government. Today is a real good milestone. I think things are only looking up from where we are today, in that we are in the Fast 41 program. We're advancing the project on a timeline, and with good federal support, I think we've got a great chance of carrying through into the next phase of development. So we do have good opportunities within the project for renewable energy, as I discussed, mainly in the solar end. And then our process is compatible with the environment in terms of its water management and land use. And then moving forward, our real key point coming up is getting our plan of operations in. That's on the critical path. There are other state permits that we are working on, but the key one in terms of the timing is to follow the Fast 41 program timeline and get to that plan of operations as efficiently as we can. And then past that, we are still in the process of looking for federal funding on a number of levels, and we're also looking for a strategic partner to come in and either at some point get interested in the chloralkaline side of things or in the lithium side of it for the project. So, and summary, we are the third most advanced lithium project in Nevada. We're deserving of being in the news, and our permitting and development is moving quickly. So, and with that, I'd like to thank you and move on to some questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Bill, for that. There are a series of questions in there, also a handful of comments. The questions I can certainly pose. The comments are sort of just comments, and I can't do a whole lot with those. So let's take it on. So first question, what does it take to move from Fast 41 transparency status to coverage status?
I think that's at the discretion of the federal government, and there they are looking at how far advanced you are. Certainly being post feasibility study and having a plan of operations in moves us closer to getting a coverage status. If you're an exploration program or pre-development, you're probably falling into the transparency world. And we're on the upper end of the transparency areas projects, and I think we could fall into the coverage if that's the way we want to go. I will say that in Nevada, the Bureau of Land Management is very experienced and very good about carrying projects forward to completion. And we've worked with the Bureau of Land Management for years, and they're very competent and they know how to get a project through all the environmental steps. So whether we were in Fast 41 or not in Fast 41, I think we're going to get the same positive results in working with BLM in the state of Nevada that we would otherwise. So,
Excellent. Thank you for that. Can you, and maybe you talked about this a little bit earlier, and this might have been on the slide that Spiros covered um, regarding sort of the corporate structure, but can you talk a little bit about the institutional ownership?
I can talk about that, Bill.
yeah, do that.
Yeah, I mean, when it's still quite light, it's just probably around 5%. That's the one thing we had struggled. It's all about timing. When I joined the company, we were like a 3% institutional raise. We did that big raise a few years ago where we increased it over to 5, closer to 7. As the price of lithium came down, a lot of the lithium institutions had sold, moved into other sectors, gold and silver, as Bill said, as gold now, moving towards 4,000. So we started to see the, institutional ownership kind of start to increase again, or we started getting more traction in the summer with our financing. So I think we need to see lithium, the price of lithium needs to continue to increase probably towards 15,000 before the market really starts to kind of wake up a little bit. So right now, most lithium funds are sitting with what they have. They're just wondering if they should restructure their portfolios and who to put in. We would like to see our institutional shareholdership increase to 10 towards 20% of the company. That's our goal, and that'll probably happen over the course of time as the company evolves and the price of lithium kind of comes up.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Just a curiosity question here regarding the updated feasibility study and the time that it has taken. It seems like sort of the updated feasibility study would be simply sort of updating or adjusting some numbers. Um, what's behind the amount of time that it's taken?
I wish it were that simple. Well, you change some processes and you have to go back and cost various components of each cost area and look at your design. We have shifted some designs around the chloralkali plant. We've also looked at some alternate locations to put it where it would be more advantageous to transportation. And everything has to fit into the disturbance that we're predicting for the project. We are fortunate in that in doing the updated feasibility study, we are not making big changes into the resources and reserves. Those virtually stay the same, but all the focus really is on the nuts and bolts engineering part. What's the flow rates looking like? What's the materials of construction, et cetera, that go into the plant? So done a lot of costing and work on the DLE area and work on the filtration. So things take time. And in the way things move in the world as far as projects go, we're fortunate that the permitting is not one of the things that are really holding us up right now. We are advancing on that front. I'm sure people were aware there are gold, copper projects elsewhere in the world. I can think of one in Alaska, which has taken forever to permit, and that is not our issue. So Our issue is all around design, all around the data that we've generated out of our pilot work and how to make all of that most efficient for the project.
Okay, and as you mentioned earlier, you're fairly confident, and I'll say confident, that you have a good slash better mousetrap.
Yeah, I think we do. And for our particular deposit, absolutely. I don't think we know that what we were doing with sulfuric acid back at the pre-feasibility study level was working, but it wasn't very efficient. We people were go back and look at the pre-feasibility study. We had just an inordinate amount of effort put into the filtration step. The filtration between a sulfuric acid leach and a hydrochloric acid leach for our clay is night and day. I can still go back to samples from 2020 where we had leached with sulfuric acid and you could just tap the jar and you'd see all the solids that's in that differentiated bottle of slurry go back into suspension. Whereas with the hydrochloric acid leach, it separates easily. We're able to make a really nice dry filter cake and do that at something which we know will be scalable and production rate. So that removed a huge element of risk in our minds around the project when we were able to do that. The chloralkali process itself, well, people might sit down and say, oh, hydrochloric acid, that's expensive. Well, because we do it with electrical power, it's all predictable. We're able to use the sodium hydroxide as a byproduct. All of that comes together as a very neat, clean, elegant solution to the project. So yeah, better mousetrap, absolutely.
Love it. Next question here. You had talked a little bit earlier about sort of two things sort of simultaneously, both strategic partners and non-dilutive federal funding. Um, how serious is the interest right now for a partnership with a strategic partner, sort of like General Motors and LAC? And then potential for a non-dilutive financing to get completed, and maybe just talk timelines on something like that.
Well, I think the federal funding route right now is definitely open. That lane in the bank is open. And we are focused on making some applications there that could bring us in a grant or a bigger chunk of funding on the federal side. The partnership side, there's interest out of engineering companies and others that we've talked to. I would say out of the bigger companies, that's right now that reception is kind of lukewarm because of perhaps the EV market. People are perceiving that's going, with the benefits of having an EV being taken off the tax benefits. There might be a slowdown there. I think that enthusiasm has toned down a bit. So we're not seeing as much interest out of OEMs that we were before. But I think that'll come back. And we are spending a lot of time ourselves and looking at how we address the battery space. We weren't getting feedback on our battery grade material, but by working with First Phosphate, we know that we can put into some batteries and it works fine. So generating that level of interest when the market on the lithium side comes back will happen. We do have a lot of interest on the federal government side. It certainly is the best time to be in our space and strategic minerals that I've seen before. So.
Excellent. No, appreciate that update. Next question here, talking about the record of decision immediately following the up to 2-year NEPA process for which the company is fully funded. When would you expect Angel Island to commence operations at the earliest, and along with that, the construction period?
Well, we've talked about we've laid out a 12-month production construction period and then a ramp up of a couple months after that. I think the FS had about 15 months from the point of breaking ground to the end point, maybe more like 18. So we're a year and a half after that as far as production. And we're hoping that the permitting process can be accelerated somewhat to speed things. During that period from the time that we put in the plan of operations, well, even now we're looking at how do we finance the whole project and what are the steps to get there. So that's why we have the phase one to bring the CapEx down into something sub-$1 billion that's manageable.
And then sort of as a follow-up to that, I think you mentioned it earlier, when the updated feasibility study will be out. I think you mentioned that is March of 2026.
Well, we have an internal draft of it, I would say right now on the areas that we've addressed, and we will be looking for validation on that from, we haven't selected a contractor for the engineering endorsement, we'll say, out of that additional checking. But we think it could be 2-3 months, or it could take us up until March, depending on how certain areas of the feasibility are looked at. And one in particular is the chloralkali plant.
So Q1, first
Yeah, it's
quarter
a good
probably.
target. Yeah.
Okay, so
I will know more in the next couple weeks. So
okay. And if you do learn more, is that something that the company would put out in a press release regarding timing or potential timing?
probably we'll talk about it. We're not really making an official press release around the target right now. We'll talk about it, say, in the next 3 Hills or next webinar.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Can you also provide your thoughts on the U.S. Department of Energy's financial loan restructuring with Lithium Americas?
Uh, I didn't look at that closely. Just, yeah, I think anything that happens positive for lithium clay in Nevada is a positive move. The market certainly is receptive to their federal government taking a 5%, I think it was, or 10% stake in the company. Their share price more than doubled in the space of several days. So we'll say, hey, well, that's great. I could see also how that could be a negative down the road, but for right now, I think anything that helps the industry, helps clay deposits in Nevada is a very good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of eyeballs on lithium again, and people who maybe might have fallen asleep and
Yep.
have now realized that lithium we were down at 5,500 for the price of lithium, and it jumped up to 11,000 with CATL closing production down. Now that's moved back into production, we saw lithium kind of come off, but it's still 10,500
Yep.
for lithium carbonate, and it's moving forward. So
Yeah.
I think the market really needs 15,000 to kind of start. 20,000, everybody's doing great, right? I mean,
I don't know about 20,000. A lot of incentive pricing around new projects is more like 30,000. So
yeah, don't care
I
about the
think
new ones like ours.
like ours, yeah. Yeah. I'll say it's a good thing when you can turn on the business channel in the morning and the first thing you hear is, "Hey, lithium. Let's talk about lithium."
Yeah,
So,
yeah. We got to remember that lithium went from 95,000 down to 5,000, right? So it's been quite a ride. It was definitely too high, and it's and overpriced, and then it was completely underpriced. So it's moving in the right direction right now. So
well, I remember when we did a PEA, was it PEA or the draft of the PFS, and we used $9,500 a ton, and we got criticized because the price of lithium was $6,000 a ton, lithium carbonate. So, and the next thing you know, that runs up to 80,000, and it goes back, and then it goes up. So, and it's a hard one to track because there we go, China. China has the market. They take the spodumene concentrates, they take the impure brine material, and they produce the lithium carbonate and stuff it into batteries and sell it back to us. So where we're getting the support from the U.S. government is the fact that, hey, we're domestic. The lithium iron phosphate batteries that we did with First Phosphate, that's all North American. We're seeing great enthusiasm out of the government officials around that. So that's all good for us.
Yeah, and that's right, because like, we are an end-to-end process. We don't have to send anything to China to be refined. We comes out of the clay, out of the clay in Nevada. We process it
Hmm.
in Nevada and produce lithium in Nevada, right? So that makes a difference.
Right. Quite right.
Yeah, and just want to be aware. I know that normally we keep our presentations to about an hour, which we're coming close to right now. We do have a bunch of questions still in the queue,
Okay.
and I know that both Bill and Spiros are committed to getting those questions answered. So we will continue beyond the hour for those who can stay. So the next question, and this is something that was on one of the earlier slides. Question is about analyst coverage, and then also open to a strategic partner. You had mentioned that, wondering also about offtakes, potential offtakes. I think both of those items were covered, the analyst coverage and offtakes.
I'll talk about the analyst coverage. It's on our website. It's on our presentation. I advise, encourage, listeners and investors to just always pop on the website. We try to keep it up to date as much as possible. We're currently being covered by Alliance Global Partners out of New York, Noble Capital Markets as well, based out of Miami, and Christopher Ecclestone out of the UK from Hallgarten and Company. So we have three independent analysts that cover the company, and each give their buy recommendation. Their emails to the analysts are on our website. Just please click under investors, go to analysts and email them or ask them for a copy of the report. Or I think if you talk to Jim, you can probably provide one as well, if I'm correct, right?
Yep, usually when I get the updated reports, I will send it out to people who have participated on webinars. Yep.
Sounds good.
Right. On
And
the
the second,
offtake side, we do have the offtake likelihood of sodium hydroxide around the byproduct. And the lithium side, there's was a definite cooling off as the price of lithium dropped, and it became clear that a lot of projects which did have off takes, I can think of several, weren't able to deliver on those. So you had the likes of Tesla and others kind of back off and back away from doing offtake agreements with people. And even though it's just the fact that you have an offtake with somebody helps on the publicity side, the reality of it is they do want to have material come to them. So GM obviously is the taker of all of Thacker Pass material. Uh, I think we will, as we progress here in the permitting and it becomes more real for the project, that you'll see that somebody emerges. One thing we do want is we want that offtake party to be domestic and likely in the US. So
excellent. So the next question in the queue, I think, is going to be a sort of general and important question. And I think there's a significant number of existing shareholders on today's call who may own shares at prices higher than where it's currently trading. So the question for you, Bill, is the company seems undervalued at 30 cents Canadian. What can shareholders expect in the near future that will reflect the true value of the project?
well, I think I've laid out our path fairly clearly, which is updated feasibility study, permitting. Permitting is perceived as a risk item for mining projects, and certainly that applies to institutions. It applies to um, the government, the OEMs. We need to get clarity on the permitting path, and as that emerges, I think you'll see value added to the where we're at today. We've put a lot of effort, I would say, comparing ourselves to other companies. Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to look at us and invest. I can't think of us. I didn't imagine that we'd be down this low, but I can see the pathward forward. I, when you're into the development phase, the press releases become fewer and far between because you're in this grind of working out whatever you're doing on the permits. That's not particularly exciting. The work on the engineering, that's not particularly exciting. Sometimes you can you might go out there and break ground, and you can have some news around that. We are working on the downstream side of the products on the battery components and looking at that. We'll have some news around that. Tends to be a dry period, but I think for us, we're looking up from here. We're only looking up. So.
Excellent. Next question here. Should lithium carbonate remain in the $12,000 range? How feasible is Century's business as well as Lithium America's business, even with permitting approvals, offtake agreements, and a government stake? So the question really is it probable that Century Lithium, upon permitting approval, would be most feasible if combining with Lithium Americas?
Combining with Lithium Americas. Don't even want to address that part. that's an M&A question that I won't go near. But as far as are we feasible at $12,000 a ton? Well, we're probably positive on the rate of return for the project. If you incorporated debt leverage with a loan or non-dilutive financing with a grant, then it looks even better. So yeah, we probably still tick up into the feasible range. If you're in the range of 10 to 20% on a rate of return for something which is really a chemical plant, then industry, that's a reasonable rate of return. You'd like to see it above 20, but 15, 17% is a good rate of return for a chemical plant. And I think might not hit that mark at $12,000 a ton, but you throw in some debt leverage, maybe it is. So, but the main driver for us right now and moving forward is there's no better time in the US for doing a strategic metal project than now. We've never seen this kind of support from the feds where they say, hey, you want to do a pre-feasibility study on a project over here in Tungsten, north of us? Yeah, here's $6 million for it. They are writing checks. So, and not only the checks, it's the favorable attitude and realization that the US needs a domestic source of supply for elements, and lithium is definitely one of them because it's the future of batteries and future of energy storage systems and future of mobility.
So next question, excuse me. There was talk earlier this year about a potential partnership maybe being solidified by the end of 2025. The curiosity is what has caused that to be potentially pushed back?
I would say the lithium price, lithium market, and uncertainty around the EV market has probably put that on hold. Not on hold, but just slowed that conversation down.
Okay, I'm just trying
Yeah,
to.
I'm just gonna, I'll add on.
What was that, Spiros?
I was just saying that I would add on to that, we got to remember it's a bear market for lithium, right? So, it's the markets are really down in general. The only stuff that's doing quite well is there's a couple of Lithium America, obviously, Standard Lithium are doing very well right now. But in general, a lot of us are getting beat up from these prices. So as an investor, you buy low and you sell high. So you look at who's got cash, who's advanced, who's potentially going to put out good news, and if we all believe in the lithium market's going to turn around, you want to make sure that you are secured with an advanced project that's got cash that can execute those catalysts and bring valuation towards your investment. So,
Yep, that was a good checklist too of the reasons that we're in a good position is we've got cash, we've got a good project, we're in a good position in the development of the project, and we are confident that lithium has a good future as a commodity. So all of that.
So next question, would the sodium chloride sale price also be recalibrated for the updated feasibility study?
The sodium hydroxide?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, we are definitely looking at the marketing around that market price to use in the base case for sodium hydroxide. We used $600 a ton FOB at the plant in the FS. And we see that since that time, the market has actually strengthened. Whether we bump that price up or not, we'll see. But there's great demand for caustic soda and chloralkali products in the Western US.
Then one of the two questions remaining here. What's the likelihood or potential of needing to raise capital in 2026?
Well, I don't think that's we will be opportune in our financing. Our first focus and effort is to get something coming in on either the partnership side or non-dilutive through the government. We do believe we've got sufficient funding. Haven't totally worked through the budget, but if the federal permitting process doesn't throw us any curveballs, I would say we are at low probability of having to go back for funding in 2026. So if moderate risk of additional expenditures, studies, cost of an EIS, I think we're still in pretty good shape. And certainly better than a lot of companies that are at this point in the market cycle.
Okay, and then so it's a little bit of a longer question here, but under the government's recent MP materials deal, I'm going to get this incorrect here, but neodymium, praseodymium, the Pentagon set a price floor of $110 per kilogram. Because of this, there will likely be a floor price set for lithium in the Lithium Americas deal. What do you hear from your sources that the domestic floor price might be for lithium carbonate or hydroxide?
Oh, that's a much shorter answer is I haven't heard from anyone. So my answer's short. No.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then what is the company's current monthly burn rate?
You can look into the last quarter and see. I can't, I shouldn't probably give that to you right now, but it's been trimmed a lot from even earlier this year. Since we put the demo plant or the pilot plant into demo mode, we've cut a significant part of cost out of that. Just the overhead. You got an eyeball on that, Spiros, of something we should say?
Um,
Because I can give you a number, but I don't know. I want to give
yeah,
you a number.
I mean, it depends. It all depends on what you're doing in a pilot plant, right? The more active the pilot plant works is active, the more it will burn.
Yeah.
From the overhead and staff that we have, it's quite minimal.
Yeah.
Right. I'd be to do what, 100,000 per year, per month?
Per month?
Not even.
No, we're still probably upwards of 150,000 a
Yeah,
month.
yeah.
So
And so that's about it. And this just really comes down to, I mean, we've really dropped down everything we're doing, a lot of stuff we're doing in investor relations, because the market's not really there to kind of, over promote. We activated here and there, but we're not doing a lot of stuff that we used to do. So it's just, it really comes down to the pilot plant. Bill's.
well, it's now going to be permitting too, because even this last baseline study cost us about 90,000 to complete. So,
Okay.
and there'll be costs coming up on preparing the plan of operations with consultants and moving that forward, but that's all within the financing that we arranged. We were looking for 2 to 5 million and we got close to 5 million. At the $2 million mark, we were budgeting just enough to carry us through on our basic studies to get the feasibility study update completed and finish off the baseline work and not really carry us into NEPA. But now, having hit closer to the $5 million mark, we're more comfortable going into 2026 through 2026 and whatever gets thrown at us in the way of an EA or an EIS.
Okay, last two questions, both coming from me. As you look towards the future, the end of 2025 and into 2026, one, what keeps you up at night? And two, what are you most excited about?
What keeps me up at night? Hmm. Well, the funding was keeping me up at night because that was not an easy raise to do during the summer.
Mhm.
Market had definitely cooled off, so a lot of my stress levels down because of that. So I feel more comfortable. Um, Probably it's more like, will the Yankees win tonight? Is keeping me up. So, uh, uh, and as far as what keeps me excited, well, yeah, batteries make me excited. The fact that we can turn our clay into a product, and we've got people out there that are excited about working with us to come up with battery solutions and ideas around future use of lithium. That's exciting. So I
Mhm.
like the downstream part of where we are. I like some of the aspects around the chloralkali plant and opportunities there. So yeah, it's a really a fun time as far as the project goes.
Excellent. Well, you and I,
Yeah.
Bill, are on the same side as far as Century Lithium goes, but tonight at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern, we're on different sides of the ball field.
Boston. Boo.
So I want to thank all the attendees for joining us today. Thanks for all your questions. Of course, if you have further questions, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Spiros, you can reach out to Bill. And as Spiros mentioned, as there is updated analyst reports, I will get those and forward those out to everybody on today's call. And then if there's anything you want to add, Bill, as far as final thoughts or takeaways, I'll give you that opportunity. Otherwise, we're okay.
Yeah, well, I just want to thank everyone for listening and all those who support Century Lithium. And we're doing our best to carry the company forward. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest
Thanks.
of the
Good
week.
job. Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.